Kazuko Hikama. Thank you for inviting me to contribute with a holistic solution, the economy for the common good, to this opening of the Global Risk Center. I confess I'm not an economist by academic training. I've taught at 7 universities, mostly in economics and business administration. And the solution I brought is not that complex. And it's a bit hot here, isn't it? In Europe, most people who listen to my talks, they remember me as Christian Felber. That's the guy with the handstand. To be honest, I would prefer that they remembered Christian Felber as the guy with the economy for the common good. But well, it's okay, at least a handstand. But interestingly, I'm never doing a handstand on stage. What I do is a headstand. I'll show you. This is what I do. It's a headstand. Is it a headstand? Are you scientists? This is a hands and headstand. Hands and head stand. Have you ever seen a pure head stand? A head without hands stand? Have you ever seen that? Yes, have you ever made it? You want me to make one? Let's try. I don't know if it works out, but I can try. So, with hands, and it's wooden floor. It's less than a second, and no recommendation. I don't say now everybody, but still that's not a handstand. A handstand is more or less. That's a handstand. So why do I make a headstand and not a handstand? Because a headstand is a stronger symbol. It indicates that something is upside down, on its head, contrary to its nature. You got it, I'm talking about the economy. Why is the economy on its head? Let's look at the values. A simple question. Which values allow your personal human relationships to flourish? You want to speak out loudly? Which values allow your personal human relationships to flourish? Peace? I agree. Peace. More? Love? Thank you. And the smile. Trust. There are already 3.
Health.
Help. Mutual help. Respect. Thank you very much. Dialogue. Justice and humanity and dignity, ever better. I'm almost lying. One last. Good relationships. What a flower bush. Let's see. Do you think that the answers in Austria are different? Do you think that the answers in Chile are different? Do you think that the answers in Australia and Canada are different? They're the same everywhere. So what in a plural, pluricultural, pluriethnical and fragmented world seems to be almost impossible, you have proven it within 2 minutes. There is something like a set of basic, fundamental, universal values that every human knows. no matter if she or he is an expert or not. These are our human relational values. I'm a psychologist, a sociologist, we call them relational values, and they're universal. There's empirical evidence for that. Maybe you can exchange one by another. From these values, is there any single value that you think is not yours? Does anyone disagree with one single of these 10 values? See, there is consensus. That should be impossible. And now I ask you, if you think of the globalized economy, maybe relationships on the global scale, transnational corporations, international trade, free trade, which are the principles and the goals that are guiding the globalized economy? Please speak them out loud again. And don't look at this slide. Which are the guiding principles of the global economy currently, today? Competition, profit, power, return, financial return on investment, efficiency,
Growth.
Money, proud. Okay, we have 8 values. How many did we also hear as answers to my first question of these 8? How many of these 8 values did we also hear as answers to my first question? 0. There's no overlap. These are complementary, to say it polite form, complementary value spheres. And how many of these values are positive? I had no idea what you would answer. But I studied economics in Austria. It's not true, I did not study economics, but I studied textbooks of economics, and I studied studies which values are implicitly propagated in Western economics textbooks, from Paul Samuelson to Val Harrian, from Pindick and Rubinfeld to the most selling Mankiw and Taylor. These kinds of values. Are these all positive values? Do these values allow our human relationships to flourish, our communities to flourish, our planetary ecosystems to be stable and blossom? The short answer is no. Then why do economists, Western, I'm talking about Western economists, why do Western economists paint this picture of humans? Do they think that this is human nature? Western economists would deny, no, this is not what we think that is human nature. Then I ask back, but what is it then? Well, Christian, these are just assumptions. And my question, but why these assumptions? Christian, we need some assumptions, otherwise we could not calculate our models. And my question back, well, if it's just assumptions, why don't you assume this and calculate your models differently? And then there is no answer, usually. But my conclusion is, if we assume this and teach this and calculate our economic models with these assumptions, then the economy is becoming progressively part of the problem than of the solution. And we've heard all this analysis, so I can jump over and ask, how would an economy look like that is part of the solution? And the good message is, there's a growing number of models around over the globe, in south and north and west and east, that propose a different set of values. That's the common denominator of all of these alternative approaches. They are based on values, but not on efficiency and competition and competitiveness and growth and return on investment and utility maximization, but on ecological sustainability, on social cohesion and solidarity, on social justice and human dignity, and maybe also democracy. That is what they have in common. And the economy for the common good is just one of them. It's the last one in a row, because maybe it's one of the youngest models. We started in 2010, 14 years ago, and the first very quick and not very clean approximation to the common good is human dignity plus solidarity plus social justice plus ecological sustainability plus democracy. And the outcoming model is holistic in the meaning that there is a theoretical framework that builds on companies, that builds on money and banks, that builds on trade, that builds on everything that we are having today, but it takes the liberty to rethink everything that we have today, to sort out those things that we do not need any longer, like hedge funds, for instance, or financial derivatives, also called weapons of financial mass destruction, not by myself, but by Warren Buffett. I would say we do not need weapons of financial mass destruction. We can sort them out. And others, companies, for instance, we keep them in, because company can be a part of the solution. Especially if you remember the original name of the company. Does anyone know what a company originally means? Is it a profit maximization machine? No. Kumpane, together, bread. Company means to break bread together. That's it. I think we can keep it in. But we should remember its original meaning. And what we do is we look at every single building brick of the economy, including property, including the relationship with nature, including the insight that we are nature, deep ecology rather than shallow ecology. And the outcome is an economy oriented towards the common good. We started 14 years ago. We are a global movement of 5,000 actors, humans, companies, teachers, scholars, universities, municipalities, and cities. And we're growing extremely slowly, but steadily. You know this African proverb, the grass doesn't grow faster although you pull. It's from Africa. We like it. The speed of the snail is sometimes the most organic speed. And this is our model. It's again the attempt to approach the economy from a holistic perspective, to include everything. And this starts with a couple of questions. For instance, what is the economy? I wonder if in Japanese textbooks of economics, a clear definition of economy, not of economics, of economy is offered. I've seen lately several textbooks that do not offer a definition of economy. They offer a definition of markets, of economics, but not of economy. And then happens that we equalize economic growth with GDP growth. Because we do not have a definition of economy, then we can equalize economic growth with GDP growth. And then the economy is what GDP is. Is this a clear definition? In Europe? I don't think at all. So we will start with economy is a sample of practices to satisfy basic human needs of all humans, without putting at risk the needs of other species, being just member of the global context of life, including the planetary boundaries that we have seen on every slide set today, and in alignment with the fundamental values of each culture. In alignment with the fundamental values of each culture. I already mentioned that study that figured out that the 5 most important values included implicitly, not always explicitly, but at least implicitly in Western economics textbooks are utility maximization, competition orientation, pursuit of first and foremost financial goals, like for instance return on investment or profit, materialism, including and assuming insatiability. Are you insatiable? I eat and then I'm fine. I sleep and then I'm fine. I love and then I'm fine, and so on. I'm satiable on every level. And growth without limit. These are the five most prominent values in Western economics textbooks according to empirical scientific study. And we propose that the economy should be in alignment with the values that underlie our cultures and that are enshrined in our democratic constitutions. You will not find efficiency in any constitution, you will not find competition in any constitution, you will not find GDP growth in any constitution of the world. And you know what you find: human dignity and solidarity and social justice and sustainability growingly and democracy. And as a consequence of some more fundamental questions, I don't have the time to put them all, but the consequence is that we conclude that the overarching goal of economic activities should be the common good. You might name it differently, but more or less something such as the highest possible life quality, a good life for everybody, el buen vivir in Latin America. We are wondering if it's ikigai in Japan, or something different, or something like the greater good, the common good. And why do I have to talk about this? Because in Europe, most people have studied economics, they learn, or at least they remember, that in the economy it's all about money. That the goal is to earn money and to increase the profits and to accumulate more capital. And this is a different story. Of course it's possible, and you can propose this, and you can even put it into the election program of a political party, and you could even enshrine it into a constitution of a democratic country. But is it the case? First, this is where the headstand comes from. Aristotle was more scientific than Western economists nowadays. Why was he more scientific? Because he distinguished 2 different definitions of economy. The definition we all know: economy, oikos, the house, nomos, the rules thanks to which we manage the household. They pursue a goal according to Aristotle, and the goal is the good life of everybody in a household, the common good. This is the goal, whereas money or capital are just means. Whereas if this flips around, if this is put on its head, if money is the highest goal, then this is no oikonomia any longer, according to Aristotle. It perverts the oikonomia into chrematistike in ancient Greek, and chrematistike is a complicated word, but today we have the word capitalism. So Aristotle taught us that capitalism is the opposite of economy, in the meaning that in economy the goal is the common good and money is the means, and in capitalism, capital and its increase and protection is the goal, and the common good is at best a side effect that can occur but does not occur necessarily. And we should be able to distinguish these 2 terms. That's more scientific. There is a choice, we do have alternatives, and we can make a choice. And if all of us prefer capitalism to economy, well, then it's a democratic choice. But as economic science is not offering us this choice, in Western economics textbooks, mostly there is only one model presented, and of course it's capitalism. And what is happening? Capitalism is equalized with economy. And then there is no choice anymore, because there is only one model, although 2,300 years ago there were already two at least. And of course there are many more, as you know. But whereas in economics textbooks, one might learn that the goal is to accumulate capital, to increase the profit, or to make money, in the constitutions of most countries that I've looked up, they say something different. The Bavarian constitution could also say the economic activity in its entirety serves the accumulation of capital. It could say that, but it's not saying it. The goal is the common good. And every other constitution that is saying us, that is telling us anything about the overarching goal of the economy is saying the same. And now comes my point. How do we measure success in the economy? This is maybe my most fundamental question. How do we measure success, not only in economy, anywhere, according to the means and the accumulation of means, or according to the achievement of the goals that we have defined? How is it the case in Japan? Do you measure success according to the achievement of the goal of any endeavor, enterprise, activity, or first and foremost according to the means that you have available? We don't need to answer that question now, but I have never ever heard any different school of entrepreneurship, project management, strategy, or personal development that said something different than, of course, first you have to define the goals that you want to achieve, and if you want to know if you have been successful, you have to measure if you have achieved the goals that you have defined. That's why it's so important to know first which is the goal, the common good or the money. In an economy, it's the common good. Well, then let's measure the achievement of the goal. Are we doing it? Are we measuring the achievement of the common good in the economy? We aren't. This would be that. And that's the system error. That's the economy that it's on its head. It's not measuring the achievement of the goal. When it comes to success measurement, it's measuring the accumulation of means. And it's a total methodological failure, isn't it? Maybe not in capitalism, because in capitalism it is about the accumulation of capital. In capitalism, the increase of capital is the goal. But most countries do not have a capitalistic order, at least not according to their constitutions. They have an economic order, which means that the goal is the common good, which means that success should actually be measured according to the achievement of the democratically defined common good. Time is running, so I go rather quicker. When is the finishing of my talk? 2 more minutes. Okay. I started 10 minutes later. Then maybe let's 5 more minutes. Okay. Then I go quicker, or I let some things away. Most people ask back, well, and who defines what the common good is? You know already the answer. It's again you. So my last question today to you is, if you could compose, not only artistically, but first and foremost collectively, democratically, in a participatory process, the common good, the highest possible life quality of every being, not only in this room, but in this country, which ingredients would you like to have in? What is part of the common good? Which values, which goals, which goods, which qualities? Let's see. What are the most important elements of the best possible life you can imagine in this country or on this planet? Equity, thank you very much. More. Happiness, thank you very much. What's the unit of happiness?
Trust.
Trust, thank you. Sustainability, won't miss that. There's something else that we by no means want to miss in Nagasaki. Thank you. Peace. Thinking of economy, how we understand it. What is most important in an economy, how we understand it, how you understand it. It was already on the donut, I have seen it already. I propose basic needs met for everybody, but only basic needs. Not everything you wish and desire, but basic needs met for all humans in this country and on the planet. Well, we have only 5 minutes met, so I have to go a bit quicker. But the process that we propose would last a year. Why not take a year for answering the most important political question? This is not only economic policy, these are all policy fields, because the goals are the same for all policy fields. And now the economy becomes meaningful because it pays into everything, it's re-embedded into everything, and the goals for the economy are the same ones as for all other sectors of society. And these are the goals, and thanks to indicators, we can measure their achievement. And the aggregated index would be the common good product that we can measure with one single number. And if we want, we can compare it to last year, or to Korea, or to Austria, if we want so. We don't need to. And now comes the last step. Once we have composed democratically on the macro level the common good product, we can go directly to the micro level and ask every company or organization, thank you, on this level, what's your contribution to the common good? And in the future, we will just ask the contribution to the components of the common good product. And as we are not there yet, our movement, what we have made so far is a common good balance sheet for companies, asking them how consequently they live these values that you already now are familiar with, according to all their stakeholders, from the beginning of the supply chain in the ground and in the earth, to the 7th generation in the future. And in the fields of intersection, we tried to define the most relevant ethical issues or aspects of the common good, from decent working conditions to a meaningful contribution to the community in which the company unfolds and blossoms together with the community. And on the second layer, we have differentiated the goals, like decent working conditions. You can then differentiate into health and security in the work, experience of meaning in the work, co-determination, have a voice and say in the work, time flexibility in the work, or diversity, in the meaning that everybody who has not the same opportunities is proactively integrated in the world of labor. And then for every step achieved, the company could be awarded common good points, and the overall score could be the result of the common good balance sheet. And then we have a common good score. We could also name it a sustainability performance score. And now comes my last point, and then I have to close. Today, in the global competition and economy, those companies that are more socially responsible and more sustainable and protect the climate and human rights, they have higher costs by every rule. and they have a competitive disadvantage. Whereas those who don't, they have lower prices on the markets and a competitive advantage. Those who do not take care of humans, the society, and the planet, who are doing the exact opposite of what our previous speaker from India was talking about. They have a competitive advantage, and this is the system error. That's why we propose to treat these relatively better, paying less taxes, and those pay more taxes. They get a public procurement contract, they don't. They get a subsidy, they don't. They get a cheaper finance loan from the bank, they get either a more expensive loan or no loan at all, until the products and services from the most responsible and sustainable companies are more accessible at lower prices on markets than the products and services from these companies. We would not have to invent these incentives. They exist, but they are not consequently linked to the values that we actually already share, not in economics textbooks, but in the roots of our cultures and constitutions. And the result would be still a market economy. I'm not questioning markets or the market economy, but its mechanism, if you want so, from profit orientation or maximization and acting one against another to taking care of the common good in cooperation with one another. We can operationalize that. It's not falling from brutal globalized financial capitalism back into socialism. No, because there are infinite alternatives in between. And economy for the common good is just one of the many